Brothers and sisters, I'm Jesse with Living Tree Community Foods, and we're here in Martin Luther King Jr. Middle School in the midst of Berkeley, California. And we're getting together to celebrate Thanksgiving with friends and family. And I want to talk to you about ourselves. Not just our individual selves, but our collective selves. And by that I mean the soul of this America. It's overwhelmed by loneliness. Never before have people been so atomized, so isolated, so remote, and so distant. And if we exclude family members, more than half of Americans, more than half of the 350 million people of this country have no one with whom they can share their troubles and joys. Which one of us has a friend in whom we can confide? We have become a nation of strangers. An estimated 43 million Americans over the age of 45 suffer from chronic loneliness. Over a quarter of Americans, 25% of the U.S. population live alone. Alone. Just think of it. And how sad it is. How sad it is to see people hunched over their cell phones. Even when crossing a street, they're looking down at their cell phones. Meet the I generation, the generation of the iPhone, the iPad, and the iPod. These are young Americans born after 1995, successors to the X generation, and the first to spend their entire adolescence hunched over their cell phones. The I generation spend more time in front of screens and less time interacting with one another than with any previous generation. They communicate primarily online through social media or text, not in person. Walk out into the eerie silence of the streets, the stores, the shopping malls. Everywhere, the deafening silence. How impoverished we have become, adrift amidst an ocean of things. The likes on Facebook are not the same. Untold, dreary hours wasted scrolling through news feeds. No wonder people are becoming increasingly desperate. And many find no escape but into drugs. According to the CDC, opioid drugs are killing 33,000 Americans each year. 1 out of every 6 Americans is taking at least one type of psychiatric drug, and more than 600,000 children between 1 and 5 years old are taking psychiatric drugs. That's right. And that's right, think of it. 125,000 children under the age of 1 year. Babies. That's right, babies on psychiatric drugs. Anti-anxiety medications, they call them. With millions more Americans on antidepressants, Satan drugs, and chemotherapy, it's no exaggeration to say that America is drugged out. And then, more than a third of us are obese. It's estimated that by 2025, this could be as much as 45%. This is new and without precedent. In our opinion, obesity is a cry from the soul. People bloating themselves in the hope of getting the love and attention they once had as children. Life expectancy in America has fallen. It has fallen for the last 3 years in a row. And this in the richest of countries. And this is not happening in any other wealthy country. Life expectancy falling. And it's a tribute to deaths from drug abuse and a rise in suicides. And the increase in suicides among teenagers and young adults is especially tragic. An image emerges of an America in its 243rd year, drugged out, bloated, and inebriated. We urge you to get your hands and feet into the earth. Plant a garden, brothers and sisters. Plant a victory garden. A victory garden to show that we will come through. Replete with lettuce, chard, parsley, spinach, and kale. It will repay you manyfold. And what about, and I know that most of us live in apartments. Well, what about microgreens? Grow them in your kitchen. Here's a tray of wheatgrass. Imagine supercharging your smoothies by taking a clump of wheatgrass and tossing it in the blender. It really works. Wheatgrass. Look how vibrant and alive this wheatgrass is. Filled with life forces, with life energy. We urge you to join a community garden. We urge you this December and January to plant a tree. Plant a tree. January and February, December, January, and February are called bare root time, bare root season. It's the only time when you can purchase a tree through mail order. You could ship it by UPS or FedEx. If the tree is dormant, it ships so well. The best time, the highest time to plant a tree is when it's fully dormant. Plant a tree, an historic apple tree, going back in American history. There is, for example, Newtown Pippin, George Washington's favorite, or Isopa Spitzenberg, Thomas Jefferson's favorite apple tree. We urge you to work side by side with brothers and sisters. What better first step to heal, restore, and regenerate this American earth? So let's begin right now. Let's plant some wheatgrass. So brothers and sisters, let's plant some wheatgrass. And let's plant some wheatgrass because never before in American history has there been anything like the epidemic of obesity. The epidemic of type 2 diabetes, the epidemic of cancer, the epidemic of heart disease, the epidemic of depression, the epidemic of Alzheimer's, and most tragically of all, the epidemic of suicides. And then there's the dying back of bees, so essential to the pollination of fruit. The dying back of all insects. The dying back of wildlife everywhere. It's under so much stress. And the dying back of fish and aquatic life in the oceans. The oceans are being fished out every day, abused to such an extent. So for all these things, what do? We plant a tray of wheatgrass. And now, here it is. These are wheat berries that I've germinated in my kitchen for 3 days. And as you see, they're ready to go. When I get this back home, I'm going to water the flat, and then I'm going to encase the flat. After watering it, I'm going to encase it in a plastic bag and leave it there for 3 days. The bag will keep the wheat berries moist, and they will root and develop shoots. After 3 days, I'll take the wheat berries, I'll take the plastic bag off, I'll water it again, I'll water it every day, and put the tray in full sun. If it's winter time where you are, just put it in a south or westerly facing window. But if you're here in California, then just put it out. And in a couple weeks or so, this will be the result. Be sure to water it every day, but of course. So brothers and sisters, it all depends upon us. We have passed the point of sustainability. The word now is redemption. The redemption of this America, beginning with this American earth, depends upon you. And I know you will come through. Abraham Lincoln said so. What better or equal hope do we have in this world than you? So I want to wish you a joyous, bountiful, and delightful Thanksgiving. Let's go forward towards the regeneration of this American earth. Thank you indeed. A privilege talking to you. We welcome comments and suggestions.